Okay, welcome to the second session. So before we can go ahead, you must understand some of the constitutional provisions. Without understanding Constitution of India, you won't be able to understand what exactly happens in GST or what was the issue while bringing GST in India. So my basic question start: who makes the law in India? Who makes the law in India? Do you think Supreme Court make the law in India? Supreme Court or state court, जो भी रहते हैं, high court, do you think those are making the law in India? Answer is no. Courts doesn't make law in India. They interpret the law. Their job is to interpretation. Okay. Their job is to interpretation. Whatever the law is written, their job is only to interpret whatever law is made. Then second person comes in mind, maybe government makes the law. Answer is no, government also cannot make the law. If government was having power to make the law, then BJP government would have brought some horrible laws as well. But none of the government is having make power to make law. Then sir, who makes law? So the right answer is parliament. The right answer is parliament makes the law. And in parliament, if you know, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Parliament means Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and obviously plus president. Okay, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha plus president. This is a group of parliament. Now parliament makes law for the country. Now before bringing any particular law, you must present a bill. Bill means proposal in the parliament, in the house of parliament, maybe in a Lok Sabha, then a Rajya Sabha, and then it goes to president. When the president signs on that particular bill, once bill is approved by both houses of parliament and president, then that bill becomes act. So this is a very simple procedure I'm telling you, though the real procedure is more complicated than this. I'm telling you very basic thing, how to bring law in India. How can bring you law in India? So present government will propose a bill in a Lok Sabha, then it will go to Rajya Sabha, and then finally president of India will sign it, and once that bill is signed, that becomes an act. So parliament makes the law for whole India. But who makes law for Maharashtra, or who makes law for Kerala, who makes law for Karnataka? So if it is state government, obviously state legislature makes law. So who are the state legislature? State legislature means MLAs. Okay. Parliament means MPs, and both are elected by us. That means actually we people make law for ourselves. Now, when I say we people make law for ourselves, that doesn't mean you go and you make law. You appoint a representative in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha or your state assembly, so that that guy can take care of your law making procedures. Okay. Now, MLA represents states and MP represents country. Please understand, for Maharashtra, laws are getting framed in Church Gate. Okay, we are having Vidhan Sabha. Okay, we call it Vidhan Sabha. Karnataka, they have Vidhan Sauda in Bangalore. Okay, they call it Vidhan Sauda, if my pronunciation is right. And for Kerala, it is in a Thiruvananthapuram, which is a Trivandrum, which is called as the Niyama Sabha. So Niyama Sabha, Vidhana Sabha, Vidhana Sauda, all these are words given to state legislative assembly, where all MLAs would be there and they make law for the state. MPs makes law for the nation. Okay. So please understand, law making process is not that easy in India. It's very complicated, and any law which is getting framed in India must be approved by Constitution. So Constitution of India is the supreme law. Constitution of India is the supreme law in India. Any law that you make in India must obey the framework given by Constitution. None of the act can override Constitution. That means none of the act can make provision beyond the constitutional validity. And therefore, when the legal team draft the law, they keep all the constitutional provision in mind. So some of the constitutional provision that one chartered accountant or one cost accountant should know so far as the taxation structure in the country is concerned. So I'm going to discuss those particular provisions. Constitution of India is a huge document. It is divided into preamble, articles, and schedules. So there are three parts to Constitution of India. Preamble, there are almost 448 articles. Then there are a lot of schedules also attached to Constitution of India. Out of that, I'm talking about the first article. which is Article 265. Article 265 has negative language. Article 265 negative language. It says no taxes shall be levied. No taxes shall be levied or collected in India. No taxes shall be levied or collected in India. Oh my God! It's saying no taxes shall be levied in India. There should not be any taxes. India में कोई tax नहीं होना चाहिए. Isn't it a very good news? Yes, sir. Except by authority of law. Except by the authority of law. इसका क्या मतलब होता है? Okay, what do you mean by this? Very simple. Article 265 says no taxes shall be levied. Please understand, no taxes shall be levied or collected in India except by authority of law. Except by the authority of law. That means you please tell me, first will you make law? First you will make law, or then you will collect tax, or first will you collect tax and then make the law? What government should do? Situation 1 or situation 2? First act and then tax, or first tax and then act? Which situation is the right situation? Come on, please tell me in my chat box, which situation is the right situation? Please tell me. First act and then tax, or पहला tax ले लेंगे then आराम से law बनाएंगे. What do you understand from this article? First they should frame the law, or first they should start collecting tax from citizens? Come on, situation 1 or situation 2? Gayatri has given answer. Please other also please reply. Yes, obviously first government should make the act and then only they should collect the tax. Sir, if they do this, then this particular situation will be called as constitutionally invalid. And some of the legal provision I would like to introduce you here is this. Any law which is beyond Constitution of India will be called as ultra vires. Ultra vires. I hope you have heard this word. Any law which is not matching or not obeying the Constitution of India will be called as ultra vires, and anything which is ultra vires is void ab initio. Is void ab initio. Yeah, you must be knowing this word. So void means what? Void means invalid from the beginning. Ultra vires means what? Beyond the power. Okay. So all this terminology you must have heard in your foundation law. If not, then you will learn in Contract Act and all. My responsibility is over. Anything which is beyond the power of the law is called as ultra vires, and anything which is ultra vires is called as void from the beginning, invalid from the beginning, void ab initio. All right. So this is how you should understand Article 265. The second article is Article 245. So what is there in Article 245? Who makes the law? Who is empowered to make the law? Who is empowered to make the law? Just now I told you who is empowered to make law. So Parliament and state legislatures. Parliament and state legislature. Now Parliament can make law for whole of India or any part of India. Please understand, need not any law passed by Parliament need not to be applicable equally on whole India. Parliament can make law for whole of India or whole India excluding Jammu and Kashmir, whole India excluding Jammu Kashmir, Assam, whole India excluding Karnataka, or only for Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. They can make law for whole India or any part of the India, but state legislature can make law. State legislature can make law for whole state or any part of the state. Okay, for whole state or any part of the state. So this is what is written in next article. You can see here in Article 245. What is written here? In Article 245, what is written? Power to enact law in India is given to Parliament, and Parliament can make law for whole or part of nation, and state legislative assembly can make law for whole or part of the state. So this is what is written. So you people are staying in Maharashtra as of now. You people are staying in Mumbai. So who can make law for Mumbai? Can you tell me who can make law for Mumbai? For Mumbai, who can make law? For Mumbai, you people cannot speak. You just have to type because my mic is attached. Whenever the mic is attached, I can't hear you guys. Okay, so For Mumbai, who can make law? Can Maharashtra government make the law? Can Maharashtra government or Maharashtra state, yes, state legislature can make the law. Can government of India also makes the law? Can government of India make the law? Yes or no? You tell me. Can central government also make the law for India? Mumbai? Answer is yes. So for because income tax is a central law and it is made by the central government. Custom Act is a central law made by the central government and is applicable in Mumbai. So in Mumbai, two laws are applicable. Laws framed by state legislatures and laws framed by central government with parliament. Why? Because Mumbai is a jurisdiction which falls in state Maharashtra and country India, and therefore two different government can frame the law. And whenever two different government can frame the law, don't you think there is a possibility of dispute? Don't you think there is a possibility of dispute? Specifically state like Maharashtra, where they are opposite of BJP, central government BJP. BJP means NDA. Okay, BJP means NDA. So central government we are having NDA power. NDA is in power. And in Maharashtra, who is in power? Shiv Sena, Congress, and Rashtravari. So all these three parties are there. Yeah. So far as Kerala, in Kerala, who is there? In obviously central government still NDA, but in Kerala, LDF, that is communist. Okay, and Kerala government is also completely against the central government. So these state governments, they are not in a harmony with the central government. See, 5-6 states are there which are in harmony with the central government, like UP. So in UP, Uttar Pradesh, central government and state government both are controlled by the same ruling party, and therefore there will be harmony. But there are a lot of state government where they may not match, their philosophies may not match with the central government. State government may have different opinion from the central government, and therefore can Maharashtra or can Kerala or can Karnataka have their own income tax? Can Thackeray Sahib tomorrow come? Can Chief Minister of Maharashtra tomorrow comes and declare that from tomorrow onwards nobody will pay income tax to central government, everybody will pay income tax, Maharashtra income tax? Can he say so? Can he say so? Come on, tell me. What do you think? Does he have power to say this? From tomorrow onwards, nobody will pay tax to central government. From tomorrow onwards, everybody will pay tax to the state government itself. Pinarayi, no? What is the Kerala's chief minister? Pinarayi Vijay. Can Mr. Pinarayi Vijay come to Kerala and can he declare that Kerala citizen or Keralatis will not pay tax, not pay customs to central government? They will pay customs only to state government. Can they do so? Answer is confusing. Maybe yes, maybe no. Why? Because, sir, state governments are having power to make law, so they can make their law, and central government also can make the law, and therefore we need to have clear-cut distinction. Therefore, we should have clear-cut distinction that who should make which law, and therefore Article 246 comes into existence. Article 246 along with the Schedule 7, along with Schedule 7, seventh schedule to Constitution of India distributes power between central government and state government and joint power, and therefore seventh schedule to Article 246 of Constitution of India have three different lists. What are those lists? First one is union list. You people know this. Second list is state list. Third list is concurrent list. In union list, union government is having, that means central government is having exclusive power. In state list, state government is having exclusive power, and in concurrent list, central government plus state government are having joint power. But fortunately, none of the tax law belongs to concurrent list. Tax laws, whatever tax we had in a country, they were either union list law or state list law, and therefore there was a clear-cut distinction. Either tax will be collected by union government or it can be collected by the central government, state government. And therefore I should tell you, so far as income tax is concerned, all incomes are taxable or power is given to tax incomes to central government, but only one income, that is agriculture income. Whether to tax agriculture income or not, this power is given to state government. Similarly, on alcoholic liquor for human consumption, central government doesn't have any power. The whole power is residing with state government. Therefore, whenever they manufacture alcohol, they charge state excise duty. Whenever they sell alcohol, they charge state VAT, and every state government is having different perspective towards alcohol. Like Goa, they promote alcohol consumption. Therefore, in Goa, taxes on alcohol are very low, and therefore you get alcohol at very cheaper rate in Goa. Similarly, when it comes to Kerala, in Kerala, alcohol can be sold only by government agencies or government approved agencies, and that too selected kind of alcohol is available in the state of Kerala, and they charge very good amount of tax on alcohol, and people are paying that particular tax and happily they are drinking. Okay. Maharashtra is like, okay, neutral. Okay, they are not negative about alcohol, they are not positive about alcohol. Okay, jisko pina hai piyo, tax baro. Okay, so they are having kind of little liberal policies about alcohol. Gujarat, they are very much strict about alcohol. They don't want their state to be, filled with drunkard people. Therefore, we call Gujarat as a dry state. So what I'm trying to tell you, every state government is having different perspective for alcohol consumption in the state, and therefore they are having different rates of tax on alcohol. Similarly, tobacco products are covered by covered by central government. Now, whenever they manufacture tobacco, they charge central excise duty. Okay, central excise duty, that means the tobacco is written by the central government. So how will you remember? Daru state ne rakh liya and tobacco central ne rakh liya. So whatever taxes are supposed to be there on tobacco are levied by the central government. Whatever taxes are supposed to be there on alcohol, that is levied by state government. So far as petrol are concerned, for petrol there was a fight, very good amount of fight. Therefore, petrol is written by both of them. Whenever petroleum product gets manufactured, they charge central excise, and whenever petroleum product gets sold, they charge state VAT. These things we have already discussed. That means on petrol, both government are charging tax. Central government is charging excise duty, and state government is charging state VAT on the sale of petroleum product. Likewise, you can understand they are distributing their power. So look at this. Article 246, 7th schedule is having 3 lists: union list, state list, and concurrent list. Exclusive power is central government, exclusive power is state government, central government, state government, and here combined power. Now, before GST law, we did not have anywhere joint power. Joint power means together. There was none of the tax law which could have been brought by central government and state government, and therefore in Constitution of India we did not have this kind of provision where and is written. This and was very important. Earlier we had provisions, but there was or in the taxation provision. Why or? Either central government or state government will make the stat law, not both government, because then there will be confusion. If there is an income tax at central level and income tax at state level, then people will get confused. Therefore, only one income tax should be there. Kind of powers were distributed. But GST law, you can see from the day when I'm telling you, we pay CGST and we pay HGST. That means the laws are commonly created. That means joint power. And therefore, in Constitution of India, we did not have any kind of such provisions. Hence, they had amended Constitution of India by introducing 101st Constitution of India Amendment Act. Constitution of India Amendment Act. So this is the first act which came in respect of GST. So significant provisions of Constitution of 101st Amendment Act 2016. So they first rectified the Constitution and then they brought Article 246 in Constitution. So what is there in Article 246? Article 246A, new article. It gives power to make GST law. Power to make GST law on what particular area, sir? power to make GST law on intra-state supply is given to Parliament and Parliament and Parliament and Parliament and state legislature. That means this power is given to both government, central government as well as the state government. This is I'm telling you. Okay. But Article 269A says, another article which is introduced in this particular amendment bill, power to make a GST law on interstate supply, power to make GST law on interstate supply is exclusively given to Parliament. That means state government are not having any power to charge tax on interstate movement of goods or services or both. Please understand. For interstate, central government is having exclusive power, and for intrastate supply, both are having joint power. So this is what constitutional knowledge you must have before you can answer me these questions. I have a very basic question for you guys, okay, that you can make note later on. We are about to solve basic questions on movement of goods. I have to ask you this particular question. So you please tell me, this is the supplier. The first column is supplier column, second column is the consumer column, and third column is the tax column. Goods are moving from Mumbai to Pune. Goods are moving from Mumbai to Pune. Is it intrastate supply or interstate supply? Please tell me. Goods are moving from Mumbai to Pune. Please reply. Is it intrastate supply or interstate supply? What do you say? Mumbai, Pune, intra. So which tax will be charged now? I have given you whole constitutional background. So there will be two tax now, CGST and HGST. 9% CGST, 9% HGST. This HGST we will pay to Maharashtra government because this is the Maharashtra interstate supply. Okay. Now goods are moving from Mumbai to Gujarat. Goods are moving from Mumbai to Gujarat. Is it an intrastate supply or interstate supply? Please write down so that you will understand. Is it intrastate supply or interstate supply? This is interstate supply, and therefore which tax will be levied? Obviously IGST tax will be levied, sir. Now goods are moved from Maharashtra to Clad. Maharashtra to Clad means Maharashtra to Chandigarh or Lakshadweep or Andaman Nicobar or Diu and Daman or Dadra Nagar Haveli. Okay. So goods are moved from Maharashtra to small union territories. Obviously, is it interstate or intrastate? Come on, tell me. Interstate. Interstate means IGST will be charged. Okay. Goods are moved from clad to other clad. That means union territory to union territory. Goods are moved from one union territory to another union territory. Here students get confused. They say, haha, now union UT GST will be charged. Answer is no. One UT, maybe example Andaman to Chandigarh. The goods are going from Andaman to Chandigarh. Whenever goods are moved from Andaman to Chandigarh, please understand, it is one UT to another UT. One UT to another UT is also an interstate supply, and therefore IGST will be applicable. Therefore IGST will be applicable. Am I clear with this point? One UT to another UT is also called as interstate. Okay. Okay. India to Pakistan. Acha. Andaman to Andaman. Andaman to Andaman. Come on, tell me. Now this is intrastate or interstate? This is intra or inter? Andaman to Andaman. One place from Andaman to another place intra, but this is intra, it is not intrastate, this is intra-UT, and therefore CGST law will be charged definitely, but along with CGST law, you will charge UT GST law. So why UT GST law? Why not state GST law? Because Andaman doesn't have state legislatures who can make state law for them, and therefore central government has made UT law for the all that small 5 union territories. What if goods are moved from India to Pakistan? India to Pakistan, this is the export of goods. Now export duty, this is export duty. Wrongly a student have written excise duty. This is not excise duty. Export, this is export. There will be export duty plus IGST, because even within the nation, between the nation, This is called as interstate, deemed interstate in customs law, not in GST law, it is in customs law. Okay. So export duty. And what if goods are coming from Dubai to India? So Dubai to India, that means you are going to pay import duty plus IGST. Am I clear with this? I had to teach you only this. What is a dual model? Okay. I'm pausing the video. You please finish this chart. So now we are going to discuss legislative framework. Let me take quick revision from CMA module for the next points that we are going to discuss. Very quick revision from CMA module. We have already discussed this difference between direct tax and indirect tax. Just now I discussed 101st Constitutional Amendment Act. This may come in examination, friends. Please understand why Constitutional Amendment Act was brought, because we did not have joint power. We did not have joint power for GST, and therefore first you should make a constitutional amendment, second you should make a law, and then finally you should charge the tax. This is the hierarchy that you must follow. And please understand here also, the bill which was proposed in the parliament was 122nd. Okay, so 122nd bill, when it was approved, it became 101st Amendment Act. So this is also a confusion to student. Sir, when they proposed, the number was 122nd, but when they approved, it became 101st. So how this happened? So definitely from the, like whatever the numbers we are having here, the gap number, those many bills are either rejected by parliament or not approved by the parliament. So though this bill was proposed at a number of 122nd, it got approved earlier than other bills, and therefore it is having earlier number 101st. All right. So this particular act was approved on 8th September 2016. So in 2016, Government of India changed Constitution of India to bring GST law in India. To bring GST law in India, they made these particular bills: CGST, central government; IGST, central government; HGST, respective state government; and UTGST by central government. UTGST cannot be brought by the union territories. Just now I told you why. Because union territories are not having legislative framework. This is what we have already discussed. Petroleum products. Okay. Or we will discuss later on about petroleum product. Let's have focus on this. So these many bills were present in the parliament. Okay, CGST bill, IGST bill, UTGST bill, goods and service tax compensation to state bill. So all these bills we will discuss just in a moment. Okay, what is GST? We have already discussed. What is GST? GST is a value added tax. GST is a destination based consumption tax. It's a comprehensive law. Comprehensive law means everything is taxable here. Final burden is borne by the final consumer. It tries to eliminate cascading effect, and it brings uniform tax structure all over India. Okay. What are the advantages of GST? Yesterday only I told you when we were discussing that whole table, old system and new system. This is the one nation, one tax. GST is the one nation, one tax. GST is removing bundle of indirect taxes. Almost 17 indirect taxes were removed to bring one GST law. 17 indirect taxes were merged to bring one act, and therefore look at the burden which is relieved from a businessman's point of view. Earlier he had to follow 17 different law to be complied with indirect tax system. Now he has to follow only one act, and therefore business community is at very much ease after introduction of GST law. Removal of cascading effect, that is tax on tax, removes tax on tax. Increase ease of doing business. This is what I told you. Even in World Bank ranking, we have moved forward. We are getting good ranking now. Lower cost of production. So why lower cost of production? Because whenever one particular person is paying in B2B transaction, whenever one person is paying tax, indirect tax, he is getting immediate ITC about it, input tax credit. And whenever you get input tax credit on the taxes that you have paid to your earlier supplier, you can reduce it from your cost. It doesn't form part of your cost. Therefore, overall cost of the production or overall cost of the goods should come lower after introduction of GST, and therefore a lot of people are fighting to bring petrol under GST. As of now, petroleum products are not under GST. If they bring petrol under GST, then the tax burden on the petroleum product will go down, and therefore eventually petrol will become cheaper in India. It boosts export and manufacturing activity. I told you, Make in India concept. Next, one nation, one tax. Sir, is GST law is applicable to whole of India? Yes, beta, it is applicable to whole of India, including Jammu and Kashmir. Including Jammu and Kashmir. But now one date you need to remember, whole nation has accepted or approved GST law on 1st July. On 1st July 2017. But Jammu and Kashmir had accepted GST law. Jammu and Kashmir had accepted GST law on 8th July. This may come in multiple choice question. Effective date of GST, whole India has accepted it on 1st July. Jammu and Kashmir has accepted it or approved it on 8th July. So this is the date that you need to keep in mind. Next, dual GST model. Just now we discussed what is dual GST model. So we are having state GST, we are having central GST. On an interstate supply, we are having IGST. Now your model is writing some one sentence about each act. CGST, Central Goods and Service Tax Act 2017. It is the core of the act. This is the main act. Okay, this is the core act. CGST is levied and collected by central government. It is levied and collected by central government. It is a revenue source to the central government of India. On intrastate supply, whenever supply happens within the union territory or within the state, CGST will be applicable. Okay, sir. Next, state GST. Sir, where is state GST is applicable? State GST is levied and collected by the state government. This is mean ये पैसा state government का है. Okay, or union territories, but with the name of the union territories with the state legislature. Which are the union territories which are having state legislature? So I told you 29 states plus 2 union territories which are known as Delhi and Pondicherry. Your model is writing Pondicherry, but really it is Puducherry. Okay. Next, it is a revenue to respective state government. We are having less than 1 minute. Whenever it is log out, you please re-log in after 5 minutes. Okay. UT law is applicable to where UTGST is levied and collected by union territories without state legislature. What is the name of those union territories? What is the name of those union territories which are not having their state legislature? So Chandigarh, Lakshadweep, Daman and Diu, Dadra Nagar Haveli, and Andaman and Nicobar. And whenever transaction happens from one state to another state, one UT to another UT, IGST is applicable. Integrated GST is applicable. And therefore, these are the different laws or different acts that we have to write after this particular break of 5 minutes, not more than that. Please take break of 5 minutes. It is 8:31. We will log in at 8:36.